and thanks for joining us. This is Amhara Media Corporation English Service and you're watching our daily updates. I'm Gaila Damu. Stay tuned. According to the Office of the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his delegation are in Doha, Qatar to attend the 5th United Nations Conference on the Least Developed Countries. Bugardi Zaudu reports.
Least Developed Countries 5 United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is taking place in Doha, Qatar from March 5 to 9, 2023 with the objective to mobilize international commitments towards the implementation of the Doha Programme of Action for the Least Developed Countries 2022 up to 2031 adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in April 2022. In these 5 days in Doha, government leaders and other stakeholders are set to assess the implementation of the Istanbul Programme of Action and mobilize additional international support and action for the world's 46 least developed countries. The 46 least developed countries comprise about 14% of the global population and are some of the poorest and most vulnerable economies in the world. According to United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, they account for only 1.3% of global gross domestic product, receive just 1.4% of total foreign direct investment and trade under 1% of world merchandise exports. The world's least developed countries are in a race against time to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. According to United Nations, the remaining years need to usher in a new global partnership to ensure these 46 countries benefit from social, economic, and environmental development. At Least Developed Countries 5, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development calls for bold action and development cooperation to achieve inclusive growth and sustainable development in least developed countries. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development calls for effective debt relief and management in least developed countries to avert the growing risks of debt distress partly caused by the lack of alternative sources of development finance. Export diversification in least developed countries to shift economic activities, jobs, and resources from low productivity sectors to higher value added and higher productivity sectors, as well as stronger productive capacities in least developed countries to improve their capacity to make quality goods and deliver services to enable them to participate more fully in global trade.
Residents of Sharetown and its surroundings say that the humanitarian aid being delivered to them has been contributing a lot to reduce the problems they had encountered. Groundwork and Atil Sasmore.
The government of Ethiopia, along with humanitarian partners, has been delivering humanitarian assistance and restoring essential services across the Tigray region. Residents of Sharetown and its surroundings told INA that the humanitarian aid being delivered to them has been contributing a lot to reduce the problems they had encountered, noting that they had encountered social and economic problems due to the conflict. The residents said that they are receiving humanitarian aid. One of the residents said the people of the town is very happy for they have been receiving various humanitarian aid, including wheat, edible oil, and other provisions. Another resident mentioned the market situation and price of commodity goods such as sugar and salt has also been drastically improving following the humanitarian aid delivery. They indicated that humanitarian assistance is being intensified following the peace agreement. In addition to the humanitarian aid, basic services are being restored, including bank, telecommunication services, and various social and economic infrastructures are returning in the town. Expressing their satisfaction with the peace agreement, they urged the government to continue to scale up providing humanitarian aid. Moreover, the government, along with humanitarian aid organizations, is providing urgent humanitarian and medical supplies support to the affected communities in the northern Ethiopia.
Iran's ambassador to Ethiopia, Samad Ali Lakizadeh, said there are a lot of untapped trade and economic opportunities between the two countries. Groundwork Anna has the details.
Speaking to Ethiopian news agency, the ambassador stated that the Iran-Ethiopia relationship is historical, friendly, and long-standing and without blemishes. The relationship between the two ancient countries goes back 2,500 years, Ambassador Lakizadeh said, noting that the relationship is multidimensional, including cultural, trade and economic cooperation. He pointed out that Iran, being a country of 85 million inhabitants with huge natural resources, and Ethiopia being a country of 120 million with untapped natural resources, there are many rooms for economic relationship. Hence, the ambassador added that in a bid to tap several unexplored business opportunities, trading with each other's currencies and using bartering mechanisms can address several trade and economic bottlenecks such as foreign currency shortages. According to the ambassador, the resumption of a joint economic cooperation commission will help boost lots of business potential, as there are lots of uncovered opportunities that still need to be used to boost relationships.
We started to trade with some neighbors, not only the neighbors, even some African countries, Latin American countries, Caribbean countries as well, regional country in the west of Asia as well.
Iran is trying to boost bilateral relationships with African countries, the ambassador revealed, adding that the country has got agreements with many countries in Asia and Latin America to trade with each other's currencies or even a bartering mechanism.
To do trade with our national currencies from both sides. That is one of the ways we can, especially taking in account the shortage of foreign currency in this country, that is one of the ways we can use. We can try at least. We can show interest. That is one. Secondly, a barter mechanism. We use barter mechanism to boost our trade with many countries in the world. That is another way we can cooperate.
He further pointed out that Iran is willing to share with Ethiopia and any other country, for that matter, its progress is high-tech, knowledge in science and technology. He stressed being members of some regional and international organizations such as South-South Cooperation, Non-Alignment Movement and G77 would help us facilitate bilateral relations.
Our short geographical distance between Iranian ports in Persian Gulf and Djibouti or Berbera port, which reduce the transportation costs, can also help to boost our bilateral trade.
We are in a dilemma.
How should this generation in the coming ones should understand and interpret the history of Adwa in their lives?
Making history, having history, requires the capacity to work with others.
The question is, what made the Battle of Adwa so unique, exceptional?
Menelik was truly kind and generous.
How do you assess the leadership of that day in terms of managing that huge crisis?
Even his enemies, in the end, joined him.
How that efficiency come about?
Menelik cultivated talent. He appreciated merit. It's not who these people were born from, it was what these people were capable of doing.
Can we imagine about the victory of Adwa without mentioning Emperor Menelik?
It would be a great loss for us.
What would be the cost of this distortion?
The Battle of Adwa showed that Africans have history.
The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, said that it has completed its health program implemented in Afar, Benshangul Gumuz, Gambela in Somali regions. Abebe Brahani has more.
According to the press release, the $37.5 million US project was launched in 2017 to give newborns the best care, protection, and introduction to life by providing women access to skilled professionals for their parental care, delivery, and postnatal care. USAID Transform Health in Developing Regions activity is reportedly the single largest health investment in maternal and child health in the 4 regions, Afar, Benshangul Gumuz, Gambela, and Somali. It was implemented through a consortium led by Amref Health Africa, which worked hand in hand with Ministry of Health to narrow the health equity gap in the regions. The press release stated that the project has achieved measurable success over its 5-year run. In partnership with regional health bureaus, more than 18,000 healthcare professionals were trained and over 400 health facilities received medical equipment. Since 2017, more than 144,000 women delivered babies safely with skilled healthcare workers, and over 286,000 women received family planning services for the first time. In addition, the project directed $2.7 million to unexpected natural disasters, healthcare and other emergencies, including COVID-19, droughts, flooding and emergency support to conflict-affected areas. Through supplemental funding, 4.8 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered in developing regions.
Acting Executive Secretary of United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Antonio Pedro, said Ethiopia's Green Legacy initiative is climate-friendly and other African countries should learn from it. Modo Mulie presents the story.
The Executive Secretary said that Africa is working to restructure and transform its economy and wants to do it in the right way by promoting green options.
What we are doing, therefore, discussing here is the ecosystem that links industrialization, trade action, and climate action, as well as promoting sustainable inclusive development as part of the same continuum, but want to do it in the right way by promoting green options.
Secretary Antonio Pedro appreciated the Green Legacy initiative that Ethiopia has been running, and he added that all African governments and the people in the continent have to take a good lesson and experience from Ethiopia to focus on climate-friendly growth and development.
So, and the same principle applies everywhere else in Ethiopia. The Green Legacy projects and all those things is really how to monetize those very good actions that our member states are already taking, and to make sure that it is homegrown, that is organic, and of course it's owned by all the people that are part and parcel of that project. So this is what we are sort of presenting here as options. We learn by doing, we learn by sharing experiences, the peer learning effort, and as we also will provide better, we will elucidate the steps that it takes, both in terms of improving the credibility of the carbon credit market.
Pedro said that green development is not something that is easily achieved. It requires the integrated effort and movement of every stakeholder. Therefore, every African state should take the tremendous effort and commitment that Ethiopia has had for the past few years in promoting Green Legacy initiative.
This is not an easy sort of trajectory. It requires capacity building because the development of carbon credit markets is not something that is easy to do. And so we applaud certainly the steps that Ethiopia is taking with a view to integrating its production systems with the rest of the opportunities in IGAD, in Eastern Africa in general, and the rest of the world already.
This is Amhara Media Corporation English service, and now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate. That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching, and up next we invite you the interview that our colleague Yohannes Lijalam had with the historian Professor Shumet Sishang. Stay tuned.